Ladies and gentlemen, a special military operation code name Alpha 1 Kaziba, aka the Invincibles among the Visible in Burkina Faso, is beginning to yield maximum result because yesterday a large hydrocarbon shipment was intercepted that was en route to Burkina Faso from Ivory Coast. According to the information we had, the personnel that were in charge of this shipment have been arrested, and according to the information we have, there was almost an escalation between the Burkinabean forces at that border and the Ivorian forces. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about this information? And much credit to the Burkinabe intelligence that were able to network the movement of this element moving in time to be able to intercept and recover this shipment. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the shipments. Now we're moving to the next critical information, because from what we are hearing now, Jibo is now one of the safest places in Burkina Faso. According to further information that we received, the residents of Jibo are beginning to feel at home once again. After so many years of terrorism scourged by the JNIM terrorists, most specifically, ladies and gentlemen, according to what we heard, they said some of the residents of Jibo no longer have to look to the back of their head while they are carrying out their daily civil activities. What do you feel about that? Captain Ibrahim Traore has shown so far so good that he has effective methodologies to combating the scourge of terrorism in Burkina Faso. Now let's move to the next critical information, that in the midst of all this, they are actively establishing institutional capacity to be able to restore peace, tranquility, concord in Burkina Faso. And in the midst of this, there's a lot of infrastructural development. There is a lot of pavement of road. People are coming together to work together to develop their country in a national project called the National Faso Mebo Project. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an historic feat that is going on in Burkina Faso. I've never seen a nation so united inside and outside, because as they are getting supported from inside, the Burkinabes in diaspora, the Malians in diaspora, the Nigerians in diaspora, the Americans, that are of African origins are supporting this movement. This is a great time to be an African, ladies and gentlemen. I can guarantee you, you have support from all over the continent. I can't believe that Africa will ever get to this point, because, the normal thing they do make us understand that as Africans, we are supposed to aid ourselves, because it came to a time it was like a bone effect syndrome. But now you can see that Africans are really, really getting united, and we are beginning to see some positive results on the ground like we have in the AES state. Now we move to the next critical information, because in the midst of all this development, through the World Food Program, the Russian Federation just donated over 700 tons of yellow split peas valued at over 2.5 million US dollars to Burkina Faso this Tuesday. That's what partner do, ladies and gentlemen. Burkina Faso, when you talk about the agro-pastoral offensive initiative, they are already maybe in the third or the fourth phase. And, you can see that they're beginning to harvest everything that they've put in, and they are even going further, to increase their production capacity to make sure to fulfill the objective. Burkina must feed itself before it even trades with other nations. Ladies and gentlemen, they are moving in the right direction. I can't believe that the people of Bobo de la Soa have so many agriculturally skilled personnel to that level. Man, Burkina Faso is a place where, states challenge state on who is going to come out with the best product at the end of the day. And all this altogether is just going to decentralize, finance in Burkina Faso, because now they don't have to rely on only gold again. They can rely on the agricultural produce. Too many things that, mouths cannot talk about in Burkina Faso. Now, this is a convoy, right, that is transporting infrastructural equipment, Faso Mebo equipment, to a particular location in Burkina Faso. Regardless of the whole criticism, they say this is an anti-democratic regime that is not good for the people. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a Burkinabe citizen that has just been awestruck with what he has seen in this lifetime of my lifetime. I've never seen in my country any regime that shipped in this amount of equipment on a stretch. Not that I have an idea of. Ladies and gentlemen, let's watch this video.
capitaine na ya nan to matumbe ba me ngada bam turi why attention is ada runna leven bala kawaya video kurure why yira gama why kanano gwamde ama to on ta kilo yubre mu me maka attention ni sai Miro he. Ya ili jirawa. Why? Aye, Sam. Kanano gwambi. Why Entong putting up all loan the Kefurewa. I'm in Taikulo you Gando. Why we did by saying Kiba very Casafani or like a Pitanawa. I never come out of recommend me younger. Why I got by feeling old man. I got them feeling so.
Now we have a special information that is very important that we bring to you. Due to diplomatic tension, Belgium and Luxembourg, right, will end their cooperation with the AES state, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. A discreet but significant withdrawal with serious consequences for sectors such as agriculture, education, and private investment. Ladies and gentlemen, it all don't make sense. I just see this as a whole plot, a circus, but Burkina Faso don't really need these two countries anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, if all that Belgium and Luxembourg, brings to Burkina Faso allegedly is agriculture, hell no, you can leave. Education, no, they can leave because education is now free in Burkina Faso. Maybe there are teachers in Burkina Faso, but we need our own indigenous teachers that can teach our kids, the real history of Africa. In my country, history has been scrapped for one reason or the other that I don't know. But we need the people that can actually impact into our kids patriotism, good core value system of Africans, so that they will understand that they are the next generation that are going to be holding the lines in this world of dog eat dog. Our kids need to realize that they need to be strong and patriotic for the future of our continent. Ladies and gentlemen, the last thing is private investments. That's good. We will only be able to nationalize, every sector of the whole thing. Luxembourg and Belgium. I think, they need to go back to where they come from and take care of their resources, take care of their people, make sure they're good, they govern their people right. That is all they should be thinking about now, not to come to Burkina Faso. And at the end of the day, these are just regular contribution and they're going to call it aid. So they can go. And Luxembourg and Belgium left, but guess who just visited Burkina Faso? In a bid to strengthen Burkina Faso Egypt cooperation, the president of Faso, Captain Traore, received on Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025, the Egyptian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Badr Abdulati, bearer of a message from President Abdel Fattah al Sisi. The envoy conveys the greeting and support of the Egyptian president while reaffirming Egypt's commitment to strengthening its cooperation with Burkina Faso, particularly in the areas of trade, investment, security, and the fight against the terrorism scourge. That is what I love to hear. Egypt is by far the strongest military in Africa. The military might of Egypt is absolutely unbelievable. For a country in the continent of Africa to be that strong is something out of the textbook. I know we are reaching there. I know the AES state is, gradually going to get there. When it comes to the most equipped country in Africa, when it comes to all facets of military, you are talking about Egypt, number one, undisputed. Now, Egypt is saying that they love what is going on in Burkina Faso. And they said something that we need to really, really, take note of. Now I'm going to tell you in this next phase. Egypt is ready to collaborate with Burkina Faso and the AES states in all fields, said Dr. Abdulati, praising Captain Ibrahim Traore's uh, commitment to African unity. Let's be clear on that. Praising the commitment of Captain Ibrahim Traore on African unity and the sovereignty of his country. Ladies and gentlemen, real recognize real. That's all I would say. Egypt is by far the most stable country in Africa, and they are praising this. So I believe that it's just more validation from the right people, the people on the right course of history, that what the AES state is actually doing is actually genuine, not what you hear from a lot of puppet presidents out there. Because recently, there's another revelation I'll bring to you in the next episode. He also expressed Egypt's gratitude for the support given to Dr. Khalid El Enani candidacy for the Director General of UNESCO. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the message from the Egyptian envoy to Burkina Faso. Now you ask this question: the European Union envoy, you have Egyptian envoy, you have Brazilian envoy. I mean, a lot of envoys are coming to Burkina Faso, man. I don't know, but my country, I don't know. I don't know if there have been any envoy. Like you can see how many representatives are coming to this block. Ladies and gentlemen, the AES block is hosting a lot of envoys from all over the world. And you have some other presidents who travels only to get humiliated and embarrassed. Okay? The difference is clear. The feeling is different. You can feel the Burkina Faso in your blood. You can feel the AES state in your blood. If you know, you know. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have received a cryptic information this morning as the Azawadian Group rebels are beginning to claim that the shipments that just got intercepted in Mali, after a very, very good cohesive intelligence from the AES security network to, intercept this shipment that was coming from Asia through a proxy African country to Mali. What we are hearing now is that the Azawadians say they don't know nothing about it, that they were not even involved at all. The first question I need to ask these people is why they deny. Secondly, we have some of the pro-Azawadian terrorists actually making statements that why would they transport this shipment through another proxy African country, since Algeria and Mauritania is pro-Azawadian. Ladies and gentlemen, did you hear that statement right there? Since Algeria and Mauritania is pro-Azawadian. So, ladies and gentlemen, are we saying that Mauritania and Algerian president are actually pro-terrorist? The statement is right here. I didn't say it. But if the Azawadian group is a terrorist group, right? And the Azawadians are saying that if they wanted to transport any shipments, they would have moved in. They would have moved the shipment in through Algeria and Mauritania. Are they saying that the Algerian government are terrorist government? Ladies and gentlemen, you can give us your opinion in the comment section below. It's your boy 72 Android signing out. Said counterterrorism like we've never seen before. You already know what it is.